Basahin mo lang yun. Saka ko nabili. Kasi mabalik sa iyo. Mamaya, bangin kita. Oh, kasi ito na. Bobot na labaw. Pumasok na. Negative. 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 Pagkakatabi mo lang sa kailangan. Bilis na naman.
Okay. Okay, I'll start. Nakamute na. Okay. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Today, we shall witness the signing of the host country agreement between the government of the Republic of the Philippines and the Global Green Growth Institute by the Honorable Teodoro L. Locsin Jr., Secretary of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of the Philippines, and Dr. Frank Rijsberman, Director-General of the Global Green Growth Institute. In view of the COVID-19 pandemic, the Philippines and the GGGI have agreed to hold the signing ceremony virtually, where the agreement will be signed simultaneously in 2 locations, in Manila, Philippines, and in Seoul, Republic of Korea. We wish to acknowledge the presence of our officials. Secretary Teodoro L. Locsin Jr., Secretary of Foreign Affairs. Dr. Frank Rijsberman, Director-General, Global Green Growth Institute. Joining Secretary Locsin are the following officials of the Department of Foreign Affairs. Assistant Secretary Igor Bailen, Office of Treaties and Legal Affairs. The following heads of DFA offices are joining us virtually. Assistant Secretary Noralyn Jubaira Baha, Office of United Nations and International Organizations, and Acting Head Porfirio M. Mayo Jr., Office of Protocol. Joining Dr. Rijsberman are the following officials of the GGGI. Ambassador Yun Jenny Kim, Deputy Director-General and Head of Green Growth Planning and Implementation, and Mr. Gerard O'Donoghue, Assistant Director-General and Head of Operations Enabling Division. We also wish to acknowledge Third Secretary and Vice Consul Liza Mariviejo from the Embassy of the Philippines in Seoul, who is joining us this afternoon to witness this event. May we now request the Honorable Secretary to deliver his remarks for the occasion.
Good afternoon. Thank you for virtually joining us for the signing ceremony of the host country agreement between the Republic of the Philippines and the Global Green Growth Institute. I wish we could have held this at a better time and under more favorable circumstances. But your presence today demonstrates our commitment to work together for a healthier, greener planet, regardless of the situation. And somehow there is a connection between the circumstances and our commitment to a healthier, greener planet, which might be less prone to propagating deadly disease. How badly we live at the environment's expense may be at the root of this crisis. As this may actually be the first virtual signing ceremony in the department's history, I congratulate the teams from both parties for reaching agreements on all of the elements essential to forge a successful host country agreement and for accomplishing this feat despite the limitations. Since 2012, even without a formal host country agreement, the Global Green Growth Institute has been extending valuable support to the Philippines. Through its partnership with national government agencies, and local government units. The GGGI has facilitated some US $10 million worth of financial and technical assistance to the country's growth projects. The GGGI has introduced innovative, inclusive, sustainable, and environment-friendly interventions in the programs and projects of national government agencies such as the NEDA, the Department of Trade and Industry, the Department of Energy, and the Climate Change Commission, and local government units, such as those of Palawan, Oriental Mindoro, and Bataan. One prominent example is the provision of 100 electric tricycles to the municipalities of San Vicente and Brooks Point in Palawan under the DOE's e-trikes project. This was facilitated by the GGI through a grant between the Department of Energy and the Asian Development Bank. This project aims not only to promote employment and mobility, but also to help these municipalities move away from the common fossil fuel type tricycles we all grew up with, which also explains our hearing problem, to quieter, environment-friendly e-trikes, thereby nudging forward the country's green city development agenda. Recently, GGGI expanded its work to include climate finance and shifted its focus from pure adaptation to hybrid activities that include mitigation. These are steps in the right direction as they support more strongly the Philippines' clean energy transition. We thank the GGGI for its work in the Philippines. Its help in mainstreaming and integrating climate change sensitive policies into public consciousness and national plans that bring us closer to the clean, green world we hope for our posterity. Friends from the GGI, I look forward to meeting you all personally here in Manila in the future when the situation permits. In the meantime, on behalf of the Philippine government and 107 million Filipinos, mabuhay and welcome to the Philippines. And if I might add something that's, well, just between us, in cabinet meetings when we were pushing, those of us who believe in it, for the adoption of nuclear energy for our power needs, our president, after thinking about our proposal, said a flat no. I'm not going to have my country in danger. You have his commitment for a cleaner, greener, and a safer planet. Thank you.
Thank you, Locsin. We now request the GGGI Director-General to deliver his remarks.
Thank you for those gracious remarks, Secretary Locsin and your colleagues. And indeed, we are very happy to join you here virtually for what I think is definitely our first virtual host country agreement signing ceremony. So I think we jointly have first here. And I'd like to thank your colleagues in your departments for making this possible. Thank you. Now, of course, you already commemorated that GGI and the government of the Philippines have worked together for quite a long time, and thank you for commemorating our joint successes. Not having a host country agreement was a bit of a limitation, so we are extremely appreciative that despite the challenges brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic, you are able to move this agreement, and we hope that that indeed will facilitate particularly the visas for international staff, which are a little bit urgent, but also the new work that we plan to undertake together. We hope to sign very soon a significant grant agreement financed by KOICA, the Korean Development Agency, to work with your government and the Department of Climate Change and DTI on agricultural value chains in Oriental Mindoro. I think that will be an excellent opportunity to expand our collaboration. And in fact, there are, you referred to climate finance, two so-called climate finance readiness projects, which have been approved by the GCF and are only awaiting the approval of your President's Secretariat so that they can be initiated as well. So I think we have a number of projects that are in the starting blocks once we are able to overcome the challenges posed to all of us by COVID-19. And I want to acknowledge the challenges that the Philippine government and the Philippine people are facing right now. We know the health challenges are very important and that you are taking very stringent measures to limit further spread. And we acknowledge that that has a very high price to pay for the economy and for the people of the Philippines as well. To that end, we stand ready to support our member governments to green the recovery packages for the COVID-19 pandemic. And I think you are aware that our President and Chair, Mr. Ban Ki-moon, has written to President Duterte, and I've shared my follow-up letter and our ideas as well. And I've received your response. Thank you very much. In fact, we believe that the COICA project in Oriental Mindoro is one example of indeed working on green growth in a way that is also sensible in the context of COVID-19, focusing on green employment. I think that in years to come will be particularly relevant to have indeed environmentally sustainable development that is socially inclusive and delivers the green jobs that your people and in fact the people of all our member countries need. So yes, as we offered, we stand ready to work with you on greening the COVID recovery packages that we think many of our government agencies and partners will be focused on. And the COICA project, we hope to be an excellent start with that. And I'm not exactly sure, I have to look at people sitting behind me who have had the latest conversations with COICA, but we hope to sign that agreement quite soon. While we realize that the host country agreement that we're signing today will not exactly be finalized then, it will still need your President's approval and the Senate's approval. So we'll still rely on your good colleagues to keep shepherding the process. We hope also that we will have your support in the interim, potentially applying the provisions of the agreement on a temporary basis to providing visas for the staff that are eager to start these projects to work with you. So with that, Mr. Secretary, we're very happy to work with you, and let me give it back to you.
Thank you. No, with regard to the visas, that at least lies entirely with me. Moving things along in other departments, okay, we'll be prodding them. And the Senate, of course, our Senate is rather famous for deliberations. That takes time. But the one thing that you kept mentioning, Mindoro, really touches me. My aunt, who was very kind to me, had a strange way of protecting the environment. Every time she thought any coastline was in danger of pollution, she would buy it. And she would, what can you do? Some people have money and others like me don't. And she would buy it, and then she would prevent even yacht owners from coming near. Because he said, when you come near, I know that you empty your toilets in my waters. Well, she passed away, and I wish she was here. She'd be so proud of me that I was here. So thank you so much for this, and don't worry about the visas. Thank you.
Excellent. Much appreciated.
Dr. Rijsberman. The host country agreement between the Philippines and the GGGI will formally establish and facilitate GGGI's presence, operations, and activities in the country. It will also confer on GGGI and its officials certain privileges and immunities customarily afforded to international organizations in the Philippines. The GGGI, with headquarters in Seoul, Republic of Korea, is an international treaty-based organization which supports governments to transition towards a model of economic growth that is environmentally sustainable and socially inclusive. The Philippines became one of GGGI's founding members in 2012. At this point, may we now request Secretary Locsin and Dr. Rijsberman to sign the host country agreement between the government of the Republic of the Philippines and the Global Green Growth Institute. We shall now proceed with the photo session to commemorate the ceremony. We will have 2 photo ops in this order. First, we will have a photo of our signatories, Secretary Locsin and Dr. Rijsberman, holding the signed agreement. For this photo, we respectfully request Assistant Secretary Baha and Acting Head of the Office of Protocol, Mr. Mayo, to kindly turn off their videos just for this photo. For our second photo, the Secretary and the Director-General will be joined by all participants from both the Philippines and GGGI sides. We request Assistant Secretary Baha and Acting Head, Mr. Mayo, to turn on their videos again for this photo op. We also request Assistant Secretary Bailen to stand behind the Secretary.
If I may say so, Mr. Secretary, I think we're doing really well on this virtual signing agreement.
It's one of the most effective and efficient.
Yeah. We're setting a good precedent.
Following this ceremony, the DFA will coordinate with the GGGI on the exchange of the signed agreements for the other party to countersign. The Philippines and the GGGI would then have their respective copies with the signatures of both the Secretary of Foreign Affairs and the GGGI Director-General.
I'd like to see this happen.
Yes. Then we'll let your Senate deliberate. Go ahead.
This concludes our ceremony. We wish to extend our sincerest appreciation as well as our best wishes for the good health and well-being of everyone who joined us this afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I'd like to say that I will enlist the help of Senator Lauren Legarda, appears to save it for clean green planet. And although she's now in the lower house, I'm sure her skills can be successfully deployed in the upper house of the Senate. Thank you so much, sir.
Much appreciated. And I would like to congratulate you on the first virtual agreement signing that you did this afternoon. And I think our staff prepared it really well. Thank you for your cooperation.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.